Good morning, good afternoon. It is our esteemed pleasure to be hosting this virtual talk today. So Brianna and I are incredibly passionate about two worlds that we're confident our viewers are very well versed in: product and platform. So by way of introduction, my name is Marat, based here in Brooklyn, New York, currently the head of digital platform engineering, DPE for short, at the Royal Bank of Canada. I have experience previously in SRE space, infrastructure automation, and app dev domains. So my colleague Brianna has led product and strategy arms of the SRE space, and now more recently, platform engineering transformation. And she's based a few hours north in Toronto, Ontario. So while my passion tends to lean closer to the heart of our platforms, because I'm coming from a technical background, and Brianna's on the product side, which is coming from a business background, the focus of this conversation is rather going to be on where these two worlds intersect, and perhaps even more importantly, why and how they must intersect to be successful.
Thanks, Marat. I'm just as excited today to be here in this talk as I was when you initially shared this opportunity. So a big thanks to Platform Con on behalf of both of us for providing this platform, no pun intended. By way of brief agenda, we're going to focus this talk today on a few key levels. So the first is strategy, recognizing that platforms are strategic. Why platforms as products? Why are we embarking on this mindset shift of running platforms as products and not just technology enablers? The second level is really setting the strategy with the product mindset. How did we do it in our space? How do we manage platforms as products? What does a successful product practice look like in the platform engineering space? And then the third level is on delivering the strategy. What do we need to keep in mind when delivering the strategy, with emphasis on culture and community enablement?
So let's take a travel through time to a couple of years ago, when traditionally across the industry, platforms haven't really been looked at as strategic assets. Our traditional IT mindset suggests that platforms and shared services were basically cost centers, not intentional value drivers, and therefore don't and haven't really been treated as such. So the focus, and rightfully so, has always been on stability and uptime and cost efficiency, not on user experience or agility. As an industry, we sometimes had the "if we build it, they will come" mentality. The team incentives has always been driven by project delivery. Focus hasn't necessarily been on improving shared services, thinking of enablement or increasing reusability. So naturally, platforms haven't really had a clear strategic ownership. And the lack of that ownership has been a contributor to the way that platforms have traditionally been managed reactively, not focused in the future. And so, in the absence of proper product management, we're missing clear strategy, we're missing roadmaps, measure of success, KPIs, so on and so forth.
Right. So you've touched on a few core hindrances of the sort of legacy or traditional IT mindset. A, lack of organizational incentives for our platforms to drive value. B, failure to recognize internal developers as real customers of the platform. And C, absence of a dedicated product ownership model as a result. And not saying that this was the case at RBC. I think we both argue the opposite. But this is typically the kind of mindset shifts that many organizations have had to sort of make in the space over the past several years. So the realization that platforms, if they're treated like products, can really be accelerators to product delivery, and that velocity is an organization's competitive advantage. That's the same realization that platforms can and should be viewed as levers of strategic differentiation that are key in driving business outcomes. So in RBC's case, I think that Marat and I would both agree that the platform engineering teams, even without a dedicated product ownership model, had already aligned to those first two. So for example, there was already massive effort to take ownership and drive feedback loops for our API platform and our DevOps platform and observability platform, et cetera, et cetera. And there was recognition that these platforms do drive business value, but it was just that the opportunity to do so and capitalize on that was just so much bigger, and it becomes difficult to fully realize these opportunities without a comprehensive product strategy or product ownership model. So let's jump into that product strategy. So there are two key phases to setting product strategy. The first is defining the North Star. We call this setting the mission and vision. The second is setting a plan to achieve it. We call this defining values, OKRs, and roadmaps.
For us, when we set out on this journey towards a product mindset, the first step was to collectively set the strategy as an entire team over a series of sessions. This was relatively uncharted territory for us, as strategy was largely decentralized and owned at each platform level until then.
So first of all, what is a mission? What's a vision? So a mission statement clearly articulates a team's objectives, how it's going to reach those objectives. It's really something that the team can use to recenter itself continuously when new initiatives float through. The team should be able to ask itself, does this align with our mission? Is this helping us to achieve our objectives? A vision statement is really more about where the team aspires to go long term. What is the ultimate reason for the team's existence, and where do they want to be in a few years? So vision is largely beneficial for outward communication, articulating to your customers, stakeholders, leadership, what kind of value they can expect in the long term from you as a team, and why they should invest in you. So if we jump into Google's strategy for a minute, its mission is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. Its vision is to provide access to the world's information in one click. I've always thought that Google did this really well. It's clear, concise. It's very evident that its mission guides everything that Google builds. And the simplicity of its vision provides a really powerful, unifying North Star that feels timeless.
So the next part of setting the strategy is setting the plan to achieve that North Star. So let's talk a bit about values, about OKRs, and roadmaps. Values, the core principles that define how a team or how an organization conducts business and treats its stakeholders and its clients. They create a sense of culture that the team shares and everyone has a say in defining, and can help guide the decision-making process. The next step is goal setting. So now that we have the North Star, it's time to assess more granular objectives. OKRs, or objective key results, is a really valuable framework that we've used for goal setting and to align the team and measure progress throughout the year. So an objective defines what you want to achieve, clear, it's inspiring, and it's time out. And the key result defines how you're going to measure success. Specific, measurable outcomes that show progress towards that objective. Now, the objectives ensure everyone is working towards the same goal, while the key results, they allow for accountability and individual leaders to have more focused goals.
So as an example of an OKR from our team, we had several OKRs. An example of one of our objectives was expand our business integration capabilities, spanning all lines of business. And one of the KRs that related to that objective was reduce onboarding time for external API partners by 25% by Q2. So for our team, we had several KRs per objective. For each, we identify who the owners are from within the team. It could be one or shared across a few leaders. We baseline where the KR is currently at, and then we set a reasonable target. We then identify a few key initiatives that will help to enable that target result. And so that sets us up really well for creating the roadmap afterwards.
So the timeline of the roadmap that you're completing really depends on the scope of the strategy that you're setting. For us, we scoped it to 1 year for our mission and for OKRs, and then we produced a quarterly roadmap thereafter. This is where we had to start breaking out into our inner teams, so that way everybody can look at the KRs that they're respectfully owning and start a plan on the features, on development, on the enablers over the course of that 1 year.
All right, so key principles to keep in mind when delivering the platform product strategy. Being very mindful that your organizational model, culture, and community are all really key enablers to success in this space.
So first off, and I'm not just saying this because Brianna is a great product manager, you have to invest in your product managers, not just the tech leads, to shape and drive the platform strategy. So I really think, and I've thought this for a while, it's technically a conflict of interest to have one person acting as both the PM and the tech lead. The teams need to have this differentiation to diversify perspective and to ensure there's equal advocacy for driving up value and driving down tech debt.
Cross-functional collaboration is essential to define, build, and deliver platform value. setting and delivering strategies of any type really are always collaborative and should always be collaborative. So typically when your team is setting the strategy, there is a massive opportunity to uncover new synergies, break down silos, discover new partnership opportunities. This was never really a need for our team. Collaboration was already a massive part of the culture. But I think Marat and I would both agree that the team left these sessions knowing more about their peers' work and goals than they did before, which really shows a lot of growth in this space. The other thing I'd say is that when OKRs are shared, which usually several are, then teams have to work together to achieve those shared goals. They have to build and deliver on integrated roadmaps together, which drives a lot of collaboration as well. So long-winded way of saying that taking opportunities to strategize together as a team is always the first step in enabling and growing this collaborative cross-functional culture.
Yep. So success is measured by adoption reuse, not just uptime and feature delivery. So in setting our digital platform strategy, it was clear that there was a shift in not just building platforms, but to strengthening their adoption. This really motivated the focus towards user and culture more than ever. So with so many adoption and community-based OKRs, there's a higher than ever need for strong feedback loops, making sure that our users' needs are fully realized and understood.
All right, and lastly, invest in community enablement. Do this through onboarding, advocacy, internal marketing. You have to evangelize the community. This is really key to gaining brand recognition for your platform throughout your organization, driving awareness and adoption, growing your user base, growing your feedback loops. And then I'd say, when engagement is active enough with your community, you can turn users into champions. And that's when you can start seeing exponential adoption effects. It's arguably the most mature form of platform as a product when you can start to turn your users into platform champions and they, do your marketing for you.
So in summary, evolving technology, platforms, pipelines, patterns into highly strategic, mission-aligned products results in a more client-focused value. End of the day, that's why we're all here. So Brianna, myself, our team, our organization, we have full confidence in this approach. Why? Because we lived it. And yes, the grass is greener on the platform as a product side. Guys, thank you very much for watching, for listening, and enjoy the rest of PlatformCon 2025. Bye.
Thank you.